It's Sunday, July 19th, 2026. You're listening to the DX Today AI Daily Brief. Today, a national day of protest greets the AI data center boom in more than 125 American cities. Japan and NVIDIA switch on the world's first national infrastructure for physical AI, and the clock runs out tonight on free access to Claude Fable 5. Let's get into it.
Microsoft is preparing to launch Project Perception, a security tool that draws on multiple frontier models at once. According to reports confirmed Saturday, the system routes security analysis across models from Anthropic, OpenAI, and Microsoft itself, weighing their answers against each other to detect and investigate threats. Microsoft has not formally announced the product, but people familiar with the effort say it is positioned as a lower-cost alternative to Anthropic's premium Mythos tier, leaning on Microsoft's global enterprise distribution, which reaches customers no single AI lab can match. The launch is expected before the end of July. If the reporting holds, it would mark one of the clearest examples yet of a major platform assembling rival frontier models into a single product and competing directly with the very labs that supply it.
Next, a fast follow from Moonshot.
Chinese lab Moonshot AI rolled out a significant update to Kimi K3 on Saturday, giving users on web and mobile a choice of 3 reasoning effort levels: standard, high, and max. The controls let users trade speed against depth, running quick answers on lighter compute or pushing harder on complex coding and agent tasks. The update landed just 2 days after the model's launch. Kimi K3 is a 2.8 trillion parameter mixture of expert system, the largest open track release to date, and it has already claimed top marks on coding leaderboards. Moonshot has promised to publish open weights by July 27th, with API pricing that undercuts closed rivals on the workloads where the model is strongest. The rapid iteration underscores how quickly China's open model camp is now shipping.
Now to Tokyo and physical AI.
Japan's government, alongside NVIDIA and a coalition of industrial leaders, launched what is being described as the world's first national AI infrastructure built for physical AI. Announced Saturday in Tokyo with NVIDIA Chief Executive Jensen Huang on hand, the project centers on a Vera Rubin AI factory that will deploy 13,750 Vera CPUs and 27,500 Rubin GPUs. The capacity is aimed squarely at robotics, manufacturing, and other embodied applications, domains where Japan's industrial base runs deep and where AI models must interact with the physical world rather than just generate text. The launch positions Japan as the first country to treat physical AI compute as national infrastructure, a template other governments are expected to study closely as the race moves beyond chatbots.
From factories to front yards.
Opponents of the AI data center buildout took to the streets Saturday in the first coordinated national protest against the industry's expansion, with demonstrations planned in at least 125 locations across the United States. The effort was organized by a grassroots group called Humans First, co-founded by a former leader of the modern-day Tea Party movement, and it drew an unusual coalition spanning the political spectrum. Protesters cited rising utility bills, falling property values, traffic, noise, and water and air pollution, along with broader fears about jobs and accountability. Environmental activist Erin Brockovich has been gathering community complaints about data centers on her website, a tally that passed 7,800 reports by the weekend. The message from organizers was blunt, calling the build-out unaccountable and an infringement on local communities.
Over to Shanghai now.
At the World AI Conference in Shanghai, robotics maker AGIBOT unveiled 4 new products on Saturday, led by the A3 Ultra, a full-size humanoid built on NVIDIA's Thor chip, delivering 700 trillion operations per second through a 3-layer computing architecture. The robot fuses GPS and ultra-wideband positioning for centimeter-level precision and runs 8 hours on hot, swappable batteries, a meaningful step towards sustained commercial deployment. AGIBOT also introduced the X2 EDU education platform, the G2 Max heavy payload industrial robot, and a new dexterous hand. The company paired the launches with a push into global export markets, a move drawing scrutiny abroad even as it underlines how quickly China's humanoid sector is moving from demos toward products aimed at real work.
Back home, a sobering courtroom development.
A 20-year-old suspect accused of a coordinated attack targeting the home of OpenAI chief executive Sam Altman and the company's San Francisco headquarters has been ordered held without bail as the AI industry confronts a sharp escalation in threats against its leaders. Prosecutors describe the attempted firebombing as ideologically motivated and premeditated, with no casualties reported. The case lands amid a broader security crisis. The Wall Street Journal reports that monitoring firm LifeRaft recorded a seven-fold jump in online threats against AI executives and facilities between late February and May, and some leaders now travel with armed guards. The episode is a stark signal that public anger over AI's impact on WOOs, wealth, and daily life has begun spilling from online rhetoric into the physical world.
Meanwhile, a deadline arrives tonight.
Free access to Anthropic's flagship model, Claude Fable 5, comes to an end tonight at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time. Closing out a promotion, the company extended 3 separate times over 5 weeks. The repeated extensions had become a running story in themselves, a sign of both heavy demand and Anthropic's eagerness to get its most capable model into more hands ahead of an intensely competitive summer. Beginning Monday, July 20th, Fable 5 will be folded into the paid tiers, included in Max and Team Premium plans at 50% of standard usage limits. The shift formalizes a 2-tier structure, with the Frontier model reserved for paying customers, while free users fall back to lighter models. For many users, tonight is the last chance to try the Frontier for free.
Next, transparency under pressure.
SpaceX AI moved Saturday to open its Grok Build coding agent harness for public inspection and local use, following an uproar after users discovered the tool had been silently uploading complete codebases to company servers. The harness, the software scaffolding that lets the Grok coding agent read files, run commands, and edit projects, is now publicly auditable under the Apache 2.0 open-source license, and developers can run it locally, where they control what leaves their machines. The episode struck a nerve because coding agents sit inside some of the most sensitive intellectual property companies own. Security researchers had flagged the undisclosed uploads as a serious trust violation. The company is betting that radical transparency, letting anyone read the code, is the fastest way to rebuild confidence with developers.
Back to the Shanghai show floor.
Also at the World AI Conference this weekend, service robot maker KEENON Robotics is showing humanoids doing something refreshingly ordinary: laundry. In live demonstrations running through the conference, KEENON's humanoid robots load and operate washing machines, retrieve clean laundry, and fold garments, while its Dinobot T9 handles delivery legs of the same workflow. The company, which leads global shipments of commercial service robots, is pitching humanoids and specialized machines as complementary forms of embodied intelligence, working a complete commercial workflow end to end, rather than a single do-everything robot. It is a deliberately practical counterpoint to the acrobatic demos that dominate the category. The laundry room, KEENON argues, is where the business case for humanoids will actually be proven, one folded towel at a time.
Staying with robots building robots.
Unitree Robotics used the World AI Conference to unveil its unmanned robot factory for the first time, a production facility operated entirely by autonomous robotic systems. The factory runs on Unifo LM-X1, Unitree's proprietary industrial-grade embodied model, which has already completed pilot deployment handling precise assembly of joint motors, among the most delicate tasks in robot manufacturing. The unveiling anchors the conference's Embodied Intelligence Pavilion, where 161 companies are exhibiting and more than 300 robots are operating live on site. The vision of robots manufacturing robots has long been a thought experiment about recursive automation. Unitree, which is approaching a public listing in Shanghai, is now presenting it as an operating reality and as a preview of how the economics of hardware could change.
Two more, starting with the markets.
Apple closed out the week wearing the crown as the world's most valuable company, holding a market value of roughly $4.88 trillion against NVIDIA's $4.86 trillion, after the chipmaker slipped about 3.5%. Weekend coverage of the reshuffle emphasized what the move signals: investors broadening their focus beyond the most obvious beneficiaries of the AI boom. For nearly a year, NVIDIA sat on top as the supplier of the hardware powering the build-out. Apple's return to first place, its first since April of last year, suggests markets are starting to reward companies that put AI in front of billions of users through devices and ecosystems. Market cap crowns change with the daily tape, but the symbolism of distribution beating silicon is hard to miss.
And finally, a computing flex.
Huawei is using the World AI Conference to give the public its first look at the Atlas 950 SuperPod, the company's bid to answer American AI computing systems with domestic Chinese silicon. The configuration on display links 1,024 Ascend chips across 16 cabinets, delivering 1 exaflop of compute at 8-bit precision, 256 terabytes of globally addressable memory, and microsecond-scale latency over Huawei's proprietary interconnect. The company claims the system delivers several times the computing power of NVIDIA's comparable rack-scale offering and says the architecture scales to a supercluster of 500,000 cards. Independent verification of those claims will take time. But with export controls still limiting China's access to NVIDIA hardware, the message of the exhibit is unmistakable. China intends to build the frontier on its own stack.
That's your briefing for Sunday, July 19th, 2026. For DX Today, stay curious.